The much-needed summer rain seems grim and colder than usual. Any other summers, the rain would have been a welcomed weather phenomena for the farmers and their crops. Every droplet is a constant reminder that we are facing an unusual and an invisible danger.
With the news of a young woman from Thimphu testing positive after being released from 21 days of quarantine, and subsequently learning about a young man who worked in Punsaling in the mini dry port testing positive for coronavirus, the entire nation went under lockdown in the early hours of Tuesday morning on the 11th of August.
Dampened by the rain, it feels as if there's a looming sense of loneliness, heavily weighted down from the sky above. It is quiet in the city. Extremely quiet. The sound of the rain hitting the pavement is deafening. Can't even hear my own thoughts as Mother Nature continues to weep into the night. Nights are even more darker, surrounded by an eerie silence exaggerating the emptiness. A lone street light shines bright like a ray of hope, cutting the darkness. A lone casted shadow, the absurdity of this reality is somewhat incomprehensible, as I'm the only creature moving about in a lonesome city. Thimphu city seems bigger yet more isolated than ever. Setting my mask and face shield down, I start writing my script. The experience of being out in the empty streets is enough for me to encourage myself to do what I love doing. In a way, to do my part for the nation. First night of the lockdown in the office, I start writing the story of a nation in lockdown.
My name is Sangye Choiphel, and this is an episode of Nazhoen Express of a nation in lockdown.
마지 인센 법도설에 내술디 마하쇼기라 같이 루비미세 마하쇼기라 데비드 딘타 숨데 지데치 당오치기 난 괴데치나디 마하쇼기라 입지 할람 레짐베라 데 켄케미 로주이 세슈니비 등아치레 인케나 배워진 록다운 세기 식제데 다차베 아서노 데틀렌 같이레기 루비나 배워진 등아치레기 도딜 까담 세데 파다수 조니디 데 각담 베이기 레림치 세슈니비라 데 마베 람베 아시 세슈니비.
With the news of a young lady from Thimphu testing positive for COVID-19 after being released from 21 days of quarantine, the entire nation went under lockdown in the early hours of Tuesday morning on the 11th of August. The summer of 2020 here in Bhutan will forever be remembered as a nation in lockdown.
The country announced its first nationwide lockdown on Tuesday. Government declares Phuntling as red zone. And people confused on what is allowed and what is not amid the lockdown. Now the news in detail. On Tuesday morning, people across the country woke up to the news they have been concerned over the past few months. A nationwide lockdown was announced with immediate effect.
Never have I seen anything like it. I am in the middle of Thimphu city. Once a bustling city filled with life, people, shops, bars and restaurants. The summers in Thimphu were brimming with activities. Now, in the midst of a lockdown, it is eerily empty. Normally filled with joyous sounds of children laughing as they're playing here in the children's park, now empty and abandoned as families are staying home during this lockdown. Most government offices and private businesses closed and gated up, with abandoned outdoor volleyball courts, with gated and locked up recreational parks. No roars and screaming fans here in the National Football Stadium. Public transportation and taxi services all out of service, and the only movement restricted to the frontline workers and deliveries of essentials. Schools, private schools, and all the institutions closed and are now being used as living quarters for the desups who are serving during this lockdown. Department stores, shops, bars, restaurants all closed except for grocery stores and pharmacies within your zone for your essentials. Once a very popular tourist destination as well as for the locals, sacred sites like here in Buddha Point are all closed.
Closed and empty, but a sense of tranquility engulfs our beautiful city. Washed over by the great Lord Buddha, there is an unexplainable sense of relief. Staying at home for an extended period of time can be difficult, with heightened feeling of anxiety and fear. But in times like this, seeking insight from a divine being within the secular beliefs can be comforting, a peace of mind to build patience, understanding, and offering kindness. No children sliding on the slides of the playground for children. No one-on-one match or half-court matches in the outdoor basketball courts for the boys and girls. And the streets might be empty and bare, but spiritually, I know that we as Bhutanese are all together in prayers.
It is so strange for me to be walking these streets with no one around. I've walked these streets many a times before, but this is the first time I've ever seen our beautiful Thimphu city deserted as people are staying home in their apartments in a collective effort to break the chain of the spread of this unnerving virus that is affecting the entire world.
Across the world, the number of new coronavirus infections continues to soar.
On average, more than 4,700 people are dying around the world from COVID-19 linked illnesses every 24 hours. That's according to Reuters calculations based on the average for June. That equates to 196 people per hour, or one person every 18 seconds. So in the time it takes to watch a 90-minute soccer match, 293 people would have died on average.
There are now more than 21 million confirmed coronavirus cases around the world, and that figure is rising by more than 250,000 new cases every day. The global death toll now exceeds 750,000. In the past 24 hours, the World Health Organization recorded nearly 6,000 deaths linked to COVID-19. a grim statistic, and yet it is less than a quarter of the daily deaths globally from cancer. Worldwide, nearly 10 million people a year die from cancer. The number of new COVID infections in the 4 worst affected countries, the US, Brazil, Mexico and India, is trending upwards, and the death toll is rising too. More than 170,000 in the US and more than 50,000 in India.
Yet in Bhutan, we can proudly say that there isn't a single death related to COVID-19. With 875,000 worldwide deaths, it is alarming to see that the worldwide death toll is more than the population of Bhutan.
The coronavirus has finally entered our country, and to be realistic, it was always a question of when and not how. It was a matter of time, as we have learned of a young man in Phuntsling who worked in a mini dry port confirming to be coronavirus positive outside of quarantine.
Although a 25-year-old man in Phuntsling tested positive for COVID-19 and the case was detected outside a quarantine facility, it is not a community transmission, according to Prime Minister Dr. Lote Tsering.
But we, the nation, have set precautionary measures and prepared as the first outsourced case of coronavirus was detected with the American tourist that made the headlines back in March, quickly prompting the entire nation to close the borders, setting up stringent testing and checking in all the southern borders, as well as the only international airport in the country, Poro Airport.
Philip Abdi, the America ki Abchime, ko America lebe, London lebe, Judigibe, the Mumbai son, Kolkata son, Malaba Tuna ju, the Satam Tekalebe Kudi Omega lera, Zu Madiwara, the Nachigia Kamna, Daregi in the Sumi in Sengilu. 마치 보로 차비가 아니라 코 주마디 온비니디기 또 붓딘 곱치갈레 톱톱이메 코나 휴빙이 말레 땡아치 두비미 디와타미 가랑 아치기 디답디기 십제 잡 베서다 콩 가라 붓디 미베 텐소실레 나치기 약합나디 디 붓디 또또 미비기 트랜스퍼 츠 세슈니비.
As the COVID-19 situation goes out of control in rest of the world, Bhutanese citizens working and studying in foreign countries quickly return back home, but they are immediately put through stringent screening and testing protocols within the airport and directly sent to mandatory 21 days of quarantine, a precautionary plan derived by the government.
The zamling nalwe the coronavirus ki tamadudi bomber tendibedul. The nimchi the tigi nyankade ngachere sansam bolo chasu hubmel. The ngachilu ka cheshudi misigi soy netangda nyensungdil. The ani bendigera the toto pakapchigi tundele the gakhabgi sansam dadibe dumigi go yuri yusichip the zachi damdibe jagobel.
Personally visiting the borders right in the midst of the front lines, His Majesty the King spent sleepless nights and tirelessly to ensure that our borders are well protected, and he still continues to watch over our nation with unrelenting commitment.
His Majesty the King personally goes on a 2-week-long tour of the southern Dzongkhags weeks before the lockdown, visiting each household, enduring torrential rain, extreme southern heat, encouraging the Desups on border duty, briefing the local leaders and law enforcements, personally making sure local businesses and villages are well informed and prepared of the dangers of COVID-19.
Please be careful. See, all 400 households, not only do India coronavirus. Be careful.
Several days into the lockdown, the days strangely feel longer as once again we learn of 12 more positive cases from the mini dry port in Phuntsling. But seeing shops, stores, businesses and restaurants locked in Thimphu is a good sign that people are following the lockdown protocols, a familiar scene all over the country. No vehicles plying the roads. The summer is quietly passing by. No tourists flocking the souvenir handicraft shops that were once full of color with display of our unique traditional crafts.
Due to early actions taken by the nation, we have managed to buy ourselves some time. While the rest of the world struggled with rising numbers of positive cases, we bought ourselves about 6 to 7 months, which is remarkable for a small nation like ours.
With just around 3,000 health workers in the country and the COVID-19 situation showing no signs of slowing down, the Health Ministry's human resource is already stretched thin. Moreover, with the looming threat of community transmission in different pockets of the country, the need for additional health professionals is dire. Before the lockdown, the Health Ministry employed 50 doctors who are undergoing specialization abroad. At the same time, 25 lab technicians were temporarily recruited.
Now hitting 2 weeks into the lockdown, even time seems to pass quick and slow at the same moment. But the nation has handled the lockdown well. The streets of Thimphu are still bare, with sporadic encounters of police and desups who are dedicatedly on duty. Glimpse of a lone designated grocery store in an alleyway, and individuals with movement zoning cards over their necks, wearing masks and maintaining physical distance while shopping for essentials.
So we are planning to keep the shops open from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night now. And then we are going to provide 3-hour blocks for each family to come in and visit the shops there. So we have 1 block in the morning, 1 block in the afternoon, and 1 block in the evening there. So the morning is designated by M very clearly here. The afternoon we have the A. So this one is from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock now. And then we have the evening, which will then allow you to go from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. So you will receive, each family will receive only 1 card. So you will have only 1 time block that you can go out in.
To make life even more comfortable during the lockdown, the government has initiated zoning and limited movement scheme with safety as an utmost importance. And the people have recognized the selfless sacrifice made by our king, the government, and all the frontline workers, and abided by all the protocols and rules of a lockdown. Because after all, it will take a collective effort to combat this deadly virus.
Residents of Thimphu came out excited. Though movement using the cart is restricted, for many this is the first outing since the enforcement of the national lockdown. Individuals depending on directives on zoning and time limitations specified on the cards issued will be able to buy essential items from the identified shops. Apart from grocery shops, medical shops are also open.
Currently, I'm here right in the middle of the main traffic, and as I look around, we as Bhutanese have obediently conformed to the new normal, a fundamental change in our daily lives, but in a very positive way. Yes, a bit challenging for all of us, but we have made things work. Things as normal as getting essentials in record speed, ensuring that people who are obediently staying at home are well taken care of.
Due to pre-planning, the government has made sure to stock up for essentials to last up to 6 months. This is the familiar scene of rice bags towering to the ceiling in major stocking facilities such as the Multipurpose Hall in Royal Institute of Management and FCB in Gyeongsangbdo.
For a nation with such limited resources, this is quite unprecedented. Thanks to the government, the Prime Minister, and all the frontline workers such as the Desups here, preparing fresh vegetables to be delivered at your doorstep, led by His Majesty the King. We are truly prepared for such a lockdown.
Today I catch up to the delivery team of Desups from RIM as they are dropping off essential items to a store in Babisa zone. Decked up with all necessary protective gear, the team delivers the items in a very systematic fashion, ensuring that each and every item is accounted for. Quickly as they came, once finished, the team heads off to another location.
Today marks the 16th day into the lockdown, and Bhutan as a whole has managed to curb the spread of the disease to at least about 55 active cases, and they are all in isolation. Nevertheless, the early and timely fashion of the lockdown will hopefully ensure that there is no community transmission. While the people are doing their part by patiently staying at home, to make this lockdown a success, we have our frontline workers stepping up their game to meet the demand that requires special attention and care when dealing with this deadly virus, spending days, nights, weeks, and months away from their families and loved ones. And the reason why this lockdown is successful so far is all due to the mobilization of all the frontline workers. And one such entity is our heroes in orange, the Desups, the guardians of peace.
Desup sodalo gyakhabgi rawanatse de sunchop shide de chitun deki de tesukaira de charagi khalang bedebe beshimda de talapagu zung rangi misedinalo de kade dada tsagende bel hasan namdagi tole de gyakhabak gyakhablu chachi shuni se de tiimbasa.
Desum, the guardians of peace, has come through when the nation needs them the most. As His Majesty had said, the ultimate objective is peace and harmony for Bhutan and her people. They live and breathe by their honor code and core values, showing the utmost integrity. And I quote, "I, as Desup, will keep service to my nation before my own safety and comfort. I, as Desup, will remain honest in thoughts and upright in actions. I, as Desup, will protect the national heritage even at the cost of my own life. I, as Desup, will never vacillate from integrity to my motherland and loyalty to my Supreme Commander. I, as Desup, will always volunteer for service to Zawasum at any point of time. I, as Desup, will never let down my Supreme Commander and my fellow Desups. I, as Desup, vow in the name of deity of our motherland that I will abide this honor code always and every time.
Today I'm here in the Kuzu compound, the food center for the Desup. This is where they cook all the food, all the delicious food that is delivered to all the Desups that are deployed all over Thimphu, and this is where they get fed from here. Come on.
To feed more than 2,000 Desups deployed all over Thimphu isn't an easy feat. It requires hard work and organization to systematically function like a well-oiled machine, so that all the Desups are fed and nourished to give hope and strength to actively serve the nation day in, day out, while being away from home and loved ones.
Kuzambo Sishunila. Nimi di subtrindoji, the Ladi, the Tongintotim Gidisalu, Bedo Sishuni, the Dari Kapchi Chadina, Machi, Kuzugi, Base Nave, Dana, Catering Unit Nave, Chajudo Sishunivi, the Machira Mio, Madari Moshegi, Desungi, Lerim Digitu, Nashim the Lede, Dato Senseta, Baship Juji, Chi Sense, Judomidi, Machi, Dugiahab Dina, Dugiahab member, the Chirtan Zamlingi Dina, Tab Madu Dechen, Devinam de looking at Naberea, Tab Madu Tembe, Nam de looking at Desugita, charging Bokap, the Zoom Tommy de looking at Namsimki was I institution. The Machina Kuzuna de Washington Machi. Ni gupchugo shi de chi institution ta nim dangbam gi dina ta tar chukchi de chi chukchi lo go chu institution ta dinale go chu da ta ngachina nim chi gi de sum gi ta jego de su be be bo da ta nim dangba gi dina dinga chi asla ha chap chi institution ta chi mo sen de su bhalam chi jang ka ten ti chi nga chi gi mashi te mi na la be omi gi be da ta ngachina Thimphu nang ki na la be mi gi de su tong chan ni thap chi du te Laja Sirute, the Inromerongachi Tapsana, Gabi Kusunalete, Tapsap, she is Juni, Conjilungachi Charobe, the Nim Dambabin Atila Chapchi Sujuni, the Nim Niba Sumba, the Nim Jivale Gosudi, the Ngachida, Tatusin, the Nim Kechinigina Jodo, and Boda, the Ngachigara said Yase is Juni. The Dinaleata said Joshim the Nimchi, Nimchi Legim Jodo, Dinaleata Habordu Nagi Ladi, Ati Jamsuji Jomi, the Kachimosawashin. Tapsa Sosobe Goshi Nachi Deciling Luchi, Dina Deciling Tapsanale, Nija Decilungachi, Yagi Sudi Suyale Dando, Telema, Chan Jijilu Toro Tapsa Sapchi, the Male Nija Decimale Bedo, Telengachi Yenlagi, Anisago, Gui, Guginata, Honra Jaki, Honra Lukia Tamboda, Nietik Nachinata to me that Nale Suto Dangomidi, me Gebja Dichi, Sujinivi, the me Gebja Decilu, the La Beodaluta Jova. Chuso sum de chilong chuso sum da che de chili to benedi go su tele de sub de so charo be om de su chuso te ngale ngada dugi buna he be shimda te chuso cheda dingi na ngachi doba gi domza de chi be shimda tele nale tando se juni te di sauchi tele na tapsana be washin de sub chudu de chi de sub gyadi ko pa tapsana la be mi shidi te na thani pop thali chumi Dele Tsu Tsense Tomi de Sub Catchy de Chi, Dele Jago Pada Tsu Kemigi de Sub Chudu de Chi, the Animchibe, the Nimchilute, Ninter Shindu Anale, Michuham de Chidingachi, stand by Najabe, Nam Gupchi Bushim the Ladi de Bedose, the Analete Nim Kechini Lute Karagina, Shonyambe, Tagisho in Lo, Gone Tolo, the Chimimbelo, Madiva Karagi, the Chirugi Tolebete. Tamadu Kania, Mibabe Chigila Michigi Nyenbeta Ladi Lemejodo, Sijunvilla.
Once the food is all packed and sealed with designated locations marked, The delivery team assigned to the specific location quickly loads the vehicle, which are utilized in a pure voluntary basis. We hit the road to head off to one of the Desup base in Chansamto school. The hard-working, dedicated Desups, who has built up an appetite, eat their well-deserved afternoon meal with a smile on their face. The phones are continuously ringing in NRDCL, and the phones are answered by the Desups.
NRDCL operate me 1010 help desk the Hamakutu zoning system Thimphu implement the Ginamdidu Midisu go too much in it and Meonga Bachigi is a told the shit to the session. Taribe Bigale, Nalu, Disup Mopinga Gayu, the Office of Performance Management, His Majesty Secretary told a technical team media session. Taribe Bigale, Midisugi, the Kungi Top Madu, Chugu Desibe, Kungi Nasulo, Nalu Anibe, Jutinta Baby, Dangachi, Shilube, Kanyu Seto session. Call center 1010 help desk to Gutugi, Namdile Gutugi. Ngachina kadimchi call handle base show achinda ngachi kadimchi jutin ngachina ono sa achin ti tonta tui de chono session bela the on an average the ngachi nim regi average phapta be ba achin 800 get just chudu de chi me se te shudola.
The help hotline agents has helped resolve severe cases of people who are stranded during the lockdown, to even as minuscule things as providing help in DOMA requirements for the public. Lots of hustle and bustle in RIM storage facility amongst the Desups. It seems there is no rest for this gang of Desups as they are loading a van, each Desup carrying at least 50 kgs of rice bags, regardless of gender or age. The dedication is uncanny. The leader of the crew leads by example as she carries 2 heavy bags of rice and each fellow Desup follows, working quick and swift. This is a daily scenario here in RIM and in FCB. Sending vans and trucks full of rice and other essential items for the people to buy within their respective zones. Right after the loading, they ensure to thoroughly wash their hands and wait even if it's just for a few minutes before the rush of the next order. That night, I decide to visit Desum's main headquarters to find that they were engaged in a full-on meeting on zoning, mapping, and the address system. Joined by His Majesty's Secretariat, they discuss on the challenges, issues, and possible solutions to make the address system flawless.
Past 21 days has shown that agencies and people are willing to work together, and this is a very good time for all of us to really cooperate, coordinate and work together, and we are hoping that with the lockdown being done, the agencies will continue to cooperate and work together.
Tonight, I'm still not done with my documentary filming, so I'm going to be heading out into the town to go film the Desups. And I'm going to be heading out very soon, waiting for my driver, and we're going to go see how the Desups are sleeping and the conditions that they're sleeping in, because they're here serving the nation to protect the nation and the people.
Late into the night, I take a ride to the city bus parking to find a team of Disups on their evening briefings for the next day.
My name is Nazhoen and I'm the budget for Kiduri lifting under the Disum officer. So we have 25 Disups, 12 female and 14 male.
They have managed to make their makeshift beddings wherever there is free space. Comfort is not a concern for the Disups as long as they can get some sharai. Exhausted from their day's work, they don't even have time to change out of their uniforms, as they need to wake up before the dawn breaks and start a new day. A sacrifice made by the Disups that I will forever appreciate.
Today is the 31st of August and it couldn't be any hotter as the country enters 21 days into lockdown and we wake up to the news of 29 new positive cases. With every press briefings on BBS, the entire nation is glued to the television, quickly updating themselves on social media about the largest spike of positive cases within the country, taking the tally up to 224. And it is unfortunate to hear that 2 of the active cases are of the frontline workers working in the borders. It just goes to show how much of a sacrifice that they're making to serve the people and the nation. Unfortunately, it is still not considered as community transmission, as the recent 27 positive cases were found amongst Dantak and Imtard, and the health ministry has worked tirelessly testing all the red zone and potential hazardous areas and found that none besides the 29 recent cases were positive with COVID-19. Upon assessing the risk and having the result of more than 8,000 individuals who tested come out negative on the night of the 21 days into the lockdown, the Prime Minister addressed the entire nation on a live press briefing on BBS about the ease of the lockdown in phases due to a cooperative and a successful lockdown.
ngachiri dubimise dunankyoda gyakap chikhalaba jumidisu kaaralu te kuzuzambo se shude chika tore tari sachi chado se shunibinla te maji te tari chado so do ngachira sem dumta chi gadi se shunibi te sem dumta chi gadi se mide nedun te ngachiri gi honle byo chi nedun bomi se shunibinla te ka chap se wachin te ngachiri gyakapnagi kom sunam chen te myongader mu chenami simi tugidi se shunibi 다 투기디 유세미디에 마쇼기 개합나 코로나기 니지 튼 니지미 같이 미리나바 튼비보다도 투 가디비 기비나 세기 때투 독바지미레오 때마지 나 마쇼기라다디 같이 니지 코비드-19기 콜레 레즈미 케니디기 데랭아치기 당인당 케치치 둔타 숨데치기 내나도 때 잠링나루 키라 튼수비기 같이기 둡디치 bombe 튼순디기라 kum tugi di yuse ngachira mise kara sem gagobi jichi se shunibila tatari ngachigi dodul kadam gi lerim di gutsudi gi be tipjingi dang kechi chi de chi yasi se shunibila tarile gutsudi ngachigi nabale yacha dumtare tani gi kokapchi ngachigi thomni di gi be te kara sem gai myongader muchi tugi di yuse mide te tigi shu in se shunibila.
It is a pleasant evening on the 3rd day of the ease of the lockdown, and as I look around, people are out and about on the streets of Thimphu city, and most of them are following safety protocols like wearing masks. But we mustn't let our guard down and always keep the safety protocol in our minds, like practicing physical distancing, always wearing masks in public, and frequently washing our hands. And we have to respect our frontliners, such as the medical staffs, the police, traffic officers, and lastly, our Disups. When all this is over, we will forever be indebted to the omnipresent leadership and the compassion of His Majesty the King and the royal family, who has vowed to take every measures to save lives rather than worry about money, along with the government, the Prime Minister and the Health Minister, who we are fortunate to have strength in the health background, the doctors, the nurses, Royal Bhutan Army, Royal Bhutan Police, BAFRA and custom officers, agriculture and forest officers, volunteers, and finally our beloved Desups. I apologize if I missed out on any particular groups, but we as Bhutanese have truly come together as one, so strong and resilient, showing the entire world that even though we may be small, we can overcome any adversities if we work together as one. And this will be a testament of time for our nation, as we can proudly say that we truly value each other, care for each other, showing kindness and a sense of belonging. One nation, one goal.
I spend one more extra night in the office even after 24 days into the lockdown. Make myself a piping hot cup of coffee to prepare myself for another all-nighter. Contemplating on how much this COVID-19 pandemic has changed the very way we live and interact with people. Nazhoen Express has always been a program that celebrated Bhutan and the wonders of travel, discovering unique heritage, cuisines, and traditions, which requires me to fully immerse myself with the local people. With COVID-19, it has completely changed that situation, and I can only reminisce and hope that there will come a day when once again, traveling our beautiful country is still wondrous. And when that day comes, we will all be grateful, not taking even the simple mundane things in life for granted. So until next time, be safe, stay safe. Until the situation improves, goodbye.